Welcome to Oh My Hitbox.
I'm Bonus Lizard.
And I'm Maxed Out.
And today we're going to be covering the sequel to one of Max's favorite Super Nintendo games, Kendo Rage.
That's right. Nothing elated me more than knowing that one of my favorite Super Nintendo games got a crappy fighting game sequel. Doro-san needs Mai, the mighty Makendo number 1, to enter a mysterious tournament. A series of battles to decide who will earn the title of Ghost Prime Minister. But what happens when she refuses to enter? Enter Makendo number 2! Mai's younger sister, Hikari, is eager to fight in her stead. Little does she know, a legendary ghost is ready to awaken from his 100,000 years of slumber. Can Hikari emerge victorious? What will be the fate of the ghost world and Mai? Mai's fate is that they tied her up and threw her in the back of a truck because she's rightfully calling out Doro-san's exploitation of free child labor, and Hikari's too dumb to understand they're receiving nothing for doing. Don't lose! Makeruna Makendo 2!
Makeruna Makendo 2 is a Super Famicom fighting game released in March 1995. The game features 8 characters plus a playable version of the last boss. It largely plays like a standard 4-button fighter with 2 punches and 2 kicks, along with an additional special button used for some buffs and supers. Later that year, a slightly updated version was released for the PlayStation with an additional character in tow, bringing the total to 10. Let's go over those characters. Hikari, aka Makendo 2, is the quintessential Shoto character with a magical girl flair. She also has a cross-up butt, which is great.
Do you like tokusatsu? Do you want to watch an OVA? Do you want a badass armed What? How did that miss? Play Makenka!
Mariren is some sort of disgusting bug lady thing and shouldn't be in the game.
Makenro is the rich, refined rival to the mighty Makendos. And she has all of my favorite things. Tennis, Oki, hit confirms off shorts. What more could I ever want?
Makkey, a zombie comedian, has an anti-air twerk attack. He also puts the vor in voracious.
Macho? Mermaid? I guess macho makes more sense with the naming convention. But isn't he more of a merman than a mermaid?
Massacre, a pompadoured soccer player, gets 2 different standing headbutts instead of punches.
Awakening from his 100,000 years of slumber, Makempo is here to spam rushing skull attacks at you. I hate boss characters.
Madonna, a ballerina with a multi-hit. Wait, why did they fall out of that? What's even the point?
And finally, exclusive to the PlayStation version, we have Mai making her return from Kendo Rage. Like her sister, she's also a Shoto of sorts, utilizing the attacks from her original game, but also having a bit more range due to the sword. And that's all the characters, so I think we can start by discussing the Super Famicom version of the game. So, there's a bit less to talk about with this version of the game. It might be better for it.
Yeah. Once the game starts, really the first thing you're going to notice is just how choppy it looks.
Yeah, it looks choppy, it feels choppy. It feels like animations don't have all their frames.
Yeah, it plays a little bit better than it looks. Just for point of reference, I felt like I could predict where my characters were moving better than I could in something like Shaq Fu.
Yeah, I mean, the game generally feels like what you expect a fighting game to play like, for the most part. There's some input reader issues where you will do the same input and it feels like it doesn't take it the second time you do it for whatever reason.
Right, that's really a different point. The input reader in this game is garbage.
it could be that my timing is just ass, but I feel like it's more so that it's just kind of inconsistent.
It very much feels like it's running at an inconsistent frame rate, which that could be causing part of the issue here.
That's true. It's not like we timed it or anything.
No. I mean, we're not going to waste
We're not Digital Foundry.
Yeah, sorry. Please bug Digital Foundry to do a frame rate analysis of both versions of this game.
Yes, please do that, Digital Foundry. It'd help us out a lot. So, yeah, Super Nintendo version largely just feels like a fighting game. It's the type of game that someone back then would be like, oh, this just feels like playing Street Fighter 2. Which it doesn't, but that's what someone would say, because it's just kind of basic. Until you learn that this game has unblockables.
Yes it does.
Uh-oh, back to the lab again. We messed up. Back to the lab again.
Okay, so I need to walk that statement back just a little bit here. It's not a true unblockable, it's a bit more strange than that. So the character in question here is Makenro, who has a weird interaction with her standing light kick. So let's go ahead and start here. Alright, so as you can see, walking back so that Makendo can block. As you can see, blocks working perfectly fine. Crouch block working perfectly fine. So, standing light kick. I'm not going to guard this, just pay attention to the life. So, you can see how the hit stun looks, losing life. You can block it low, that's normal. You know, it's a standing light kick. Let's block it high. So, let's look at that again. As you can see, it's not being blocked, but Makendo still is not taking damage. The game is somehow registering that there's a block going on, I believe, but still not blocking it, causing hit stun. This still is as useful as an unblockable or a fake low, however you want to look at this, because you can, for instance, combo. So, still very useful, but just so strange. Doesn't make any sense at all. But hey, use every tool you get, right? So yeah, let's get back to the conversation. Finally, it's notable in the Super Famicom version that you can guard cancel anything. As long as you guard, you can press a normal and it will come out of the guard, and you can counter hit that way. Special, supers, you can just do whatever out of guard. It's kind of useful in the Super Nintendo version for counter hitting, but considering the inconsistencies in execution, ultimately it's just like, well, that's a thing. That's about it. It's just a decent way to get some damage back on someone if you perform a good guard against something unsafe.
But Max, that just covers the 4 buttons we mentioned. What about that extra special button?
Well, it's a special button. You press it and you do supers with your meter if you're low health, or you can do magic that we don't even use much of.
No, one of them heals.
Yeah, you can do healing! You can buff your character's stats, but that's about it. It's way more effective to just use supers because they do quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, no, agreed.
So yeah, that's about everything with the Super Famicom version. So let's move on and talk about the PlayStation version.
Makeruna Makendo!
So with the PlayStation version, even though it looks like it's using essentially the same sprites by and large as the Super Nintendo version, at first glance it looks a lot better because the frame rate is much smoother. The input reader also seems to be better, so moves are much more consistent. Aside from that, characters seem to have like a lot of the same moves that they had on the Super Nintendo version. The properties are a bit different.
Yeah, the multi-hit air moves will multi-hit in the air. The lightning legs in the air will all hit. The air twerk will all hit. you can actually do some basic juggles in the game.
Right. Again, at first glance, everything seems to be functioning much better. The first real clue that there's something wrong with the PlayStation version, though, is that the damage value on normal moves is extremely low. There are some specials, most notably the command grabs, that do a lot of damage. But by and large, it's extremely light, and you might find yourself running into a lot of time overs the first several times you play just because you can't actually hurt each other.
Yeah, and I feel like some of the few specials that maybe did damage was like the McEnroe tennis spike combo that actually did a bit of damage. Yeah, the command throws.
And Hikaru's Tatsu seemed to do some damage.
Yeah, it did some damage.
The exception to the damage, though, is the supers. If the normals do barely anything, supers do entirely too much.
Yes. Shoutouts to Makkey, whose super does nearly 80%? I want to say 80?
There seems to be some scaling involved, where if you're at full life, it'll do more damage versus someone who's lower at life. But even still, like, you can take out a huge portion of someone's life bar. Which, you know, if you've been working the entire game to whittle your opponent down and then have them land a lucky super, and then have them be ahead as a result, it can be really frustrating.
But this is where it starts to feel like Street Fighter 4 in, like, the first week, because what happens is you use your desperation move on someone, and that puts them in health range to use their desperation move, which will finish you if you get hit by it. And it's really easy to hit people with desperation moves because they're all unblockable. Even despite the fact that it's unblockable, you can easily hit confirm into many of them. You can just do short into super and it will work fine for most characters. You have plenty of options to go into your super. And in fact, once again, going to say shoutouts to Makkey, who has a hit confirm into super, which will go into his Vorg grab, and then which will go into a stun, and then you can just finish the opponent with his other special moves comboing to each other. We didn't do it, just saw a video on YouTube. It should be playing right now as I'm talking about it. So...
Game has 100%, folks.
Or at least one.
Granted, it's not much practical because you need to get yourself down to low health to be able to do it.
Yeah. So that's how this game goes. First you start, you notice that nothing does damage, and then you eventually figure out, oh, I can do specials and do maybe a bit more damage. Then you figure out supers, and you're just like, well, okay. I just need to land supers in order to actually finish a match. And then you learn that the specials and supers are one button. Because as it turns out, you can use the R2 button to execute specials and supers just with one button press plus a direction like you're playing Smash Bros.
Right. It's worth noting that not every special is available using the R2 shortcut, but for the characters that we played, enough of their useful moves were that we were able to just do that.
Yeah, you don't have every version of the specials available, so if you're wanting to do slow fireballs, for instance, that's not an option. You can't access your 100-hand slaps. But most of the specials are available, so it works out for most characters.
Yeah. Though the input really isn't the issue. What is the issue is that you can guard cancel into anything.
And this is ultimately what kills the game, because the guard cancels are so good that there's not much of a point in even attempting to play it to an extent.
Oh yeah, no, like, once we figured out the guard cancels, attacking your opponent became too risky. Since with the guard cancels, not only do they give you an extremely generous window in which to pull them off, and you only need to be hitting like a button in a direction anyways, but it doesn't cost meter or anything. You can just do it for free and as much as you want. So the act of blocking a single jump in can lead to you reversing with a super and dealing 75% damage to your opponent. And at that point, there's very very little that you can do in terms of offense in how you approach them.
Yes, it ultimately makes this a very unfun game to play once both of you know how to go ultimate scumbag, because you just turtle, and yes, I mean, someone has to go on offense for the match to go anywhere.
I mean, I'm stupid. I'm gonna do that stupid butt cross-up as much as I can.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the few good options you have in the game, because it's a corner cross-up.
To explain, part of what makes it good is you cross them up in the corner, but then because of the game's faulty programming, it will then immediately uncross you up. So you'll cross them up and then immediately be pushed back out of the corner and on the other side of your opponent. Yeah, that's really kind of it with the PlayStation version. Again, when you look at it at first, it looks much better, but the guard cancels just really grind the game to a halt. Between that and the low damage, the sheer number of times in which I whittled Max's life down slowly doing basic combos, only to have him guard cancel super and take the round from me, was, if not outright infuriating, just utterly deflating.
But yeah, I really felt that. At the same time, I felt like you deserve it because of the dumb cross-ups. In plenty of matches, I did whittle you down. Just using slow fireball Oki. Which is one of the few fun things that feels skillful in this game.
We did forget one kind of interesting fun thing, and that's in the PlayStation version, you can actually dash through fireballs.
Oh yeah, that is one of the few fun things in the PlayStation version. If you time your dash right, you do get enough iframes to go through fireballs. Not that you need it, because then you can just block the fireball and guard cancel into something.
Yeah, but that, you generally have less options to guard cancel off fireballs, because, usually the person will be too far away to really affect them.
Did you not see me using Mai's guard cancel into the Kendo multi-hit?
Yeah.
I mean, that worked pretty well, even from a decent distance.
Yeah, I know. There are exceptions, but it's not like up close where one blocked hit equals death.
Yes, of course.
Uh-oh, back to the lab again. Not again. Back to the lab again.
Alright, there was something else important that we found out about after recording. So, before we get to the ranking here, just have to address that this game also has dash cancels. This is important because you can dash cancel your normals into other normals. This has the results you would expect. Characters can chain their normals together infinitely. It helps that you can just do neutral R2 in order to do a dash. If you practice enough, I'm sure you could find one with every character, but I had the easiest time doing a dash cancel infinite with Mermaid here. Enjoy.
Well, Max, where are we going to be putting Makeruna Makendo 2?
It's really a tough call with this. First off, the two versions, they're different, but they're about equally as incompetent.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
So I think we can at the very least agree to put them in the same placement on the tier list. We don't need to separate them.
I would agree. I think both versions are pretty firmly rooted in D tier. The question then, though, is, are these better or worse than Shaq Fu?
My gut would tell me to put it above Shaq Fu, but if I was telling the people listening what game to pop in for an afternoon with their friends, if they just want to play a bad fighting game...
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely rather play Shaq Fu than this.
I would probably tell them to play Shaq Fu, because I think there's more fun to be had from most people. At the very least, at just the joke factor of, oh, it's a Shaq fighting game, all the way up to, well, if you learn it a bit, you can learn special cancels and be Cyber Macho Man and punch people. If you actually figure out how to play Kendo Rage 2, or Makeruna Makendo 2, rather, at best, you might just wind up having your friend hate you for guard canceling in the Super and doing 75% damage. If you are a weeaboo, I feel you. Like I said, gut instinct is above Shaq Fu, but ultimately I can't say that.
There's no shortage of questionably developed Animu fighters out there. So if you're going to pick one that's at least more interesting to play than this.
Yeah, better, worse, just something more interesting about anything. Something that doesn't devolve into the meterless guard cancels in the Super.
Something that doesn't devolve into, well, I'm just going to sit here and block and wait. I'm just going to wait until you attack, block it, and then counter with a 75% damage Super.
Yeah, so as much as it hurts my soul that one of my favorite Super Nintendo games got a trashy fighting game sequel that's not even fun to play, below Shaq Fu, D tier, you'll have more fun crushing palm-sized plastic model tanks. Welcome to the end of the video and the first viewable version of the tier list. Kinda empty right now. Guess we gotta do some more videos. But hey, if you want to hear more of us, I stream at twitch.tv/maxedoutEX, and Bonus Lizard streams at twitch.tv/boguslizard. We both appear on each other's streams quite often. Lately, Bonus Lizard has been focusing on playing all the 3D Sonic games for the first time, and playing some STGs on the side, and my streams will typically be some sort of niche fighting games. So, thanks for watching the video. Later.